Welcome to Family Gamer TV. I'm with Ken Levine, director of Rational Games, and obviously we're here to talk about Bioshock Infinite. So if you're describing the game to someone who maybe hasn't played Bioshock, maybe isn't necessarily a hardcore gamer,
Right.
how would you distinguish it from other shooting games?
I think the reason people tend to be drawn to Bioshock, like the thing that draws it out from other shooters is it really is a game that is very narratively focused. That it's a game that instead of presenting its story through, like non-interactive sequences, it's very immersive and it really places you inside the world in the case of Bioshock Infinite, this floating city of Columbia in the year 1912. And it's both a fantastical world. It's a bit it's a bit science fiction, obviously, in a floating city, but it's also is really based in the history, the philosophy, the science, the architecture of the period, and it just sort of has that great feeling of being in another time and being in another place. And you play this character named Booker DeWitt, who's sort of a bit of a tough figure. He's a former Pinkerton agent. He's a former soldier, and he's sort of down on his luck. He owes a lot of money gambling, and he has this mission to go to the city of Columbia and find this woman, Elizabeth, who's been imprisoned in essentially there since she was a little girl, and break her out. And when he gets there, he finds out that she's central to this conflict that's tearing the city apart.
Hello. Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it? Not here to hurt you.
Who are you?
My name is DeWitt. I'm a friend. I come to get you out of here.
Get away! Are you real?
I'm real enough.
So you're talking a lot there about narrative. We've not mentioned any shooting or action, but that, I presume that's a part of what the experience is?
And one thing that I think differentiates as a shooter, for Bioshock is that it's very player-driven, in the sense that instead of sort of giving you a weapon, or two or three in a space, we give you a very broad suite of tools. You have weapons in one hand, something we call vigors in the other hand, which are sort of like X-Men powers, and we also there's also sort of an RPG system underlying that with various types of gear you can outload, and you can upgrade your weapons and upgrade your vigors. And there's these things in the game called skylines, which are imagine like a roller coaster that you sort of hang by from a hook, and you can fight on, using your guns. It's a very sort of visceral, player-driven combat experience that's, I think, pretty unique for the shooter space.
So, I mean, telling a story in a shooting game, does that limit where the story can go? Because it feels like one thing you can't do is to have the characters give up on the shooting, sort of become non-violent or something. So does that shape, and how do you deal with that tension?
Well, it's an interesting tension, because in any game you have a particular set of ways the characters can express themselves. And in Portal, it's you have a portal gun, and in the same way that they can't, you have that tool set, and you really can't go outside of that tool set. Shooter in Bioshock Infinite has a pretty broad range of tools, but they can express them. The player can express themselves through the tools. I think one thing that's interesting about Bioshock Infinite is the amount of non-combat interaction there is in the world as well. The amount of exploration, the amount of detail. I mean, just the space, the amount of detail in this world. So much of the story is told of this world of Columbia. It's this very, it's sort of a dark society. It's a sort of a nationalistic, sort of fundamentalistically religious society that's somewhat oppressive and racist, but it's also visually beautiful. It's like this vision of America that sort of politicians remember, they think they remember, they think actually existed but never really did. There's just beautiful sunlit People selling, drinking lemonade, walking down the promenading down the street. But there's an incredible amount of detail in the world to explore. There's also this relationship you have with this woman, Elizabeth. We spent a huge amount of time on her artificial intelligence, and that she's not somebody you protect in the game. She's your partner in the game. She is there as you go through with her on this journey, and the journey changes both of you. You build this really sort of very personal relationship with her.
He's coming. You've got to go.
Why?
You don't want to be here when he gets here. Just a minute, I'm getting dressed.
Get you out of here.
There's no way out. Trust me, I've looked. Stop it, you're too impatient. That's enough.
What about this?
What about it?
This is the way out, isn't it?
What are you... Give it to me.
You learn about each other through the story, and you grow close to each other through the story. But you also, like even in the gameplay aspects of it, she's always there trying to help you. Like if you're like low on money, sometimes she'll like dig under the couch cushions effectively, and find some money for you when you need it. Or sometimes she'll help give you directions, or she'll point out enemies that you can't see.
It's a way out. Come on, this way.
She's just really always there as a partner for you, and she's also there as a friend to you. And you don't really see that in games. Usually if you have a companion character, they're effectively a turret, that shoots for you. And she doesn't do that.
And so it sounds like she's taking a sort of different path in terms of her response to the game world. You're sort of shooting and interacting like that, and she's supporting you.
Yes.
How does she react to sort of Booker's gunfighting and shooting?
Well, it's interesting because, one thing that we really wanted to be genuine to a character who's, it's sort of, when you encounter her, it's sort of a Rapunzel story. She's been locked in this tower effectively for her whole life, and when she gets out, at first she's like, "This is great," she gets broken out of this tower, and she's getting to explore all these things and see all these things. But then, of course, the people who locked her up in this tower want her back, and Booker and there's sort of this ambush sequence that happens, and Booker, of course, does what he does, which is to defend them and violently, and her reaction to it, you don't see this in games generally. Characters react to violence. She's horrified by it. She thinks he's a monster. He's had this horrible battle, and he's killed all these people. And we actually deal with that. We try to take that on, and she has a reaction to it, and he sort of shares with her sort of her first real life lesson, which is, this is, what did you think was going to happen? You think these people were just going to let you walk out of here? This is the price. This is going to be the price for your freedom. Mm-hmm. And she sort of, has to come to grips with that in the course of the game. But the violence and it changes her through the game, and you see her evolve through the course of the game, and it affects her, and she affects Booker through the game. So they really are. Most games are really about events. This game is really about these characters who are shaped by events.
Mm-hmm. That's what we've got time for this week on Family Gamer TV, but we'll be back with more soon.